in my eyes, tell me your tale, do you see the road? I'm out to my circle, tell me the signs, whenever the smoke clear out of my face, and my vision perfect, do I look fried? All of that green and yellow, that drip in your eyes, just tell your demise, I'm with to my side, to push back the ceiling and push back.
Hello everyone, I'm Chloe Grant. I'm an 18-year-old racing driver from Scotland and I'm competing in the GB4 Championship. Debrief from round 1 at Oulton Park. I know I'm not at the race circuit, just starting this channel now. We need to get back into the swing of things of actually recording at the circuit, so I promise I will record at Silverstone, but for now, I'm just going to have to debrief Oulton from my room. We went into testing throughout Thursday and Friday, quali and race Saturday, and then because it was Easter weekend, no racing on Sunday, and then we came back and raced on Monday. The first session back in the car on Thursday, it was just very strange for me. I haven't driven the Gen 1 Tassis F4 car in 2 years basically now, so it was just very, very strange, and it was just kind of trying to get back into the swing of things, get used to the feeling of the car, because it's just a completely different car and a completely different feeling as to what it's like to drive the Gen 2 Tassis car that I've been driving last year in F1 Academy. Thursday and Friday we got a mix of both wet and dry running, and surprisingly enough I actually haven't done a lot of wet running in single seaters. I obviously did a lot in karting, but since I moved up to cars I just haven't, somehow there's just not been a lot of rain when I've been driving, so I've never done even a wet race in my whole life until of course this weekend at Oulton. After doing some test sessions where it was wet running, I would come and have a debrief with the team, see my onboard footage from my car and look at my data analysis that we compared alongside my teammates to see exactly where it is I needed to gain the time. After getting a couple sessions in the wet, I was feeling a bit more confident in the wet conditions, like I said, not having a lot of experience in it, but I was really wanting to get back into the dry because I want to more settle into the feeling of the car and get to feel it more on the limit in the dry, and I knew we were going to have mainly dry races. That's obviously what I wanted to feel more. Friday we managed to get 2 sessions that were dry. I think the first session we did, I was like 3 seconds off and I was so angry with myself. But then everyone was kind of bringing me back down to earth and making me realise I've not driven this car in a long time, not done any of the testing, so I needed to be realistic. So second session I knew I had to make a big jump forward, and we jumped forward to 1.5 off, which obviously still isn't quite good enough, so I knew that for qualifying the next morning I needed to kind of make that big jump again, like I did in between those 2 practice sessions. I was P9 for race 1 and race 2 and P6 for race 3. Of course, going into the race I did feel quite a significant amount of pressure, but I knew just to try keep a level and calm head on myself and not try to make the expectation go over what it needed to be. I just needed to go out and drive and do the best that I could. Got a really good start in race 1. I managed to get up to P6 on the first lap, and however going to the second chicane at Oulton I was behind a driver where I wasn't right on their rear, so it wasn't like I could go for the move. There was quite a significant gap. However, they jumped on their brakes much earlier than I expected them to, and it was either dive and then probably hit me as they turned to get the apex, or me go straight into the back of them. So I had to use the slip road, which unfortunately put me back to P9 where I started the race. After fighting through dirty air through the cars in front of me and trying to kind of catch up and gain positions, I managed to finish in P8. Obviously I wasn't too very happy with it. I was hoping to have more points and gain more than that. However, when I looked at the timing results after, I was quicker than, it was around 3 or 4 cars in front of me, so I was confident to know the pace that I had during the race, and my confidence on the race starts, which I proved from jumping from P9 to P6 in the first lap. So I knew exactly what I had to do for race 2 and I just had to go out and do it. Race 2 was on Monday and I was starting P9 again. It was very wet, and like I said, I've never done any wet races before, so I just tried to have a realistic expectation for myself. I knew I wasn't going to do that great because I need more time in the car in the wet. If it was a kart, I would feel fantastic. I loved when it rained in a kart, and of course I knew that like the back of my hand, and I just kind of have to learn this car like that now. So started the race, wasn't great, wasn't very confident in myself, and it was more just trying to keep it on track because there was a lot of people going off. And eventually, as I started to build my confidence, build my pace, I got a bit too confident into turn 2, just over pushed the braking zone, and there's like a little puddle just on the kind of start of the corner but on the outside of the corner into turn 2. I just touched that and then I dropped the wheel off the line, off the white line on the side of the track, and because of the way I went off I kind of went sideways and I bounced over the gravel, and the way that I bounced over the gravel, I actually hit my head really hard off of the headrest either side, so I genuinely thought I had a concussion. Obviously I don't, and I didn't, but it was really painful, but I just had to continue on with the race and do the best that I could. Only a couple laps later, the race was red flagged, and I think I finished P12. Of course, I was not happy with that at all, but I definitely think for a wet race, there's a lot more work I need to do, and I can see that very clearly. So yeah, at least I've had that experience now. I've got the first one under my wing, and I know what to do next time differently. Race 3, leading up to race 3, we were constantly running from the truck to the track to see what the track was like, looking at the live racing that was going on before us, because as it was so wet that morning, and the rain was kind of on and off, but the sun was out, so it was starting to dry, and we didn't know whether to go wets or slicks. However, as it got closer and closer to the time, almost like a last-minute decision, everyone could see that there was clearly a very, very dry line. However, we knew that overtaking would be difficult because you'd have to go off the line onto wet patches to overtake. So we went on slicks, and I was starting the race in P6. I got a really good start in race 3. I went around the outside of a couple cars into turn 1, and I got up to 4th position. I gained 2 positions by turn 1. And then going into turn 2, I was quicker than the cars in front of me. I think I just got that better run out of the exit of turn 1. So I just kind of went for it. It was kind of a risky move, but I made it through, and I got into P3 by turn 2. From then on, I just kind of had to keep pushing forward, trying to catch the 2 in front of me, and then there was a safety car. After the safety car, I was on the back of the 2 cars in front of me, and I managed to get one of them just coming up the hill before the turn into Druids. I was then sitting in P2, and I was kind of like, okay, Chloe, keep focused. We've never been this high up in a race before. We need to get the best result possible. So going into the last corner, the driver who was in first place locked up and went wide and kind of messed their corner up. So I made sure that I opened the corner up nicely to get a good exit, to get a good run into the straight, to hopefully get into P1. Going down the straight into turn 1, I got into P1, and I managed to kind of just drive away for a while. The track was very, very greasy, not something I was used to, so I did almost go off at one point, and I was kind of like, okay, just bring it back a bit, because I'd rather cross the line in a good position rather than risk something whilst I'm in P1 and go off completely. After leading the race for a while, coming onto the last lap, the driver behind me was just quicker. It's as simple as that. I didn't have quite the pace at Oulton, and I will say Oulton is definitely my bogey track, and I've seen that previous when I've raced there, so we're going to claim that Oulton's the bogey track. I could see a couple cars behind me in my mirrors, and I just knew to keep my head down and defend the best I could. So came around the last corner, and I defended, of course, from P3, and we crossed the line in P2, getting my first podium in single-seater racing, first podium in GB4, and yeah, just the best finish ever for me. It was incredible, and it was very, very emotional. And yeah, I was very happy to have my team KMR Sport there to support me, and of course my sister Lucy, she was fantastic. She's having a baby, so she was crying a lot, and she blames it on the hormones, but I know she was just so happy for me. And yeah, it was just an unbelievable feeling, so hopefully we can get more of these throughout the season, but I definitely think it's a fantastic end to round 1 of Oulton Park, and it gives us a lot of confidence going into Silverstone. Silverstone being a track that of course, just a huge thank you to my partners for all their support. It wouldn't be possible without them. Laser Tools Racing, John Clark Motor Group, Specsavers, IWC Shaft Housing, and of course I'm very, very proud to be an Acuria Cost driver. So just a huge thank you to all my partners. It wouldn't be possible without them. It wouldn't be possible without my family. I promise I will film when I'm at the track at Silverstone, so it's more exciting, and I won't just sit in my room and debrief. And yeah, let's see what we can do at Silverstone. Thanks everyone.